On today's episode of The Interval, we chat to Florian Schneider, one of the organisers of the Sonore Guitar Festival, which is happening in Montreal the weekend of the 13th of September.
We hope you enjoy this instalment.
I think the first thing that I want to touch on is just how great Canada is for, well, in general, but specifically for lutherie. And it just strikes me as this kind of hotbed for lutherie. What is it about Canada and Montreal in particular that makes its lutherie thrive?
Lutherie, yeah. I think first thing is that we have in Quebec we have two schools, one in Montreal, one in Quebec, and it's a 3-year course, and it's for acoustic guitars. It's like not pretty deep, but it's you know you can build a guitar, a good guitar after those courses. I guess I didn't do those school because I wasn't, funny enough, I wasn't accepted.
What?
That's hilarious. They could see you now.
It was before I was they didn't took French student at the time because it was like 1 year they took them, 1 year they didn't. It was kind of weird. So I didn't went into, and I'm glad I didn't went to that school because I wouldn't
right
be, as I usually say, wouldn't be making the guitars I make now if I had gone to the school.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And with okay, so I haven't been to many guitar shows. I think I've been to one. What can I expect from Sonore? What can I expect from Montreal as somebody coming to Sonore from the UK? I've never been to Canada. What should I expect from the city and from the show? Like, what's different about the show?
I think we take a different approach to the show. We try to be more more how do you say that in English? It's less a show to sell. It's more about making connections and promote small builders. That's why we usually say with Anne-Marie and the other organizer, we usually say that it's a show by builders for builders. So it's affordable. We try to, as much as possible, have people who travel a lot and needs to stay to accommodate people to stay with other luthiers or things like that. We try to make everybody feels good and not emphasis the show on you're gonna sell a shit ton of guitars, which usually nice. In guitar shows you don't. Usually, I mean, it's not the case for every show, but I feel like it's like that. And unless you sell to builders, it's really rare that you sell a guitar on the spot. So we try to make more the emphasis on being friendly to the builders and also have a really, really, really high quality presentation. So we try to have, like, we make our own tables. We don't rent tables, and it's not a table with a black cloth on it and just that, and boom, here is the show. We actually, the first year we had, like, we built some tables from other cubes that we had bought from another exhibition, and last year we went Mathilde, which is one of the organizer of the show, came up with the new table design, and that really stepped up the visual for the show, and also with the venue that is, we try to have a really good visual experience and friendly experience for the builder, I would say.
So what was the impetus for starting the show? Like, why did Sonore come to be? Because this is going to be the 3rd year, right?
Yeah. The initiative was Theo and Joel wanted to put up a show, and I wanted to organize a show as well, with another pedal builder, but he kind of dropped and wasn't showing any of interest. So I kind of joined Joel and Theo in that, you know, uh, that we wanted to do a show together. So we kind of got together and say that, okay, you want to do a show, you want more acoustic, maybe classical guitars and things like that, and I want more electrics, amps, and pedals. So we should really do something together, because that wouldn't be very helpful to have two shows
Sure.
which are really really close. And so we got together and started thinking about it. And because we wanted, there was the Montreal Guitar Show a few years ago that ended in 2011, and it was really good for the Montreal scene. And that show, after that, became the Holy Grail Guitar Show, because the European guys were like, why don't we come all the way to Montreal to show our guitars? We should do a European show. So they did that, and now it's the hi Junie.
Yeah,
So that was kind of the genesis of Sonore, and we wanted to, the part of being wanting to do something different came after, with the addition of Anne-Marie and Mathilde, because with the five of us, we kind of tried to build something, like how could we be different than the other show, how could we be, it would be more interesting for builders to come instead on another show. So we kind of took all of those ideas and made it into Sonore.
Great. And from watching Sonore's presence on social media and that kind of thing, noticed that, from the logo and the marketing especially, it's quite a design-centric show. Like, all of your exhibitors seem to be really focused on design. Your media seems to be very design. Obviously, your own work is beautifully designed, and it's kind of your ethos, right? So is that kind of
totally
what makes it a little bit different from other shows as well, like your emphasis on design?
Yeah, because Anne-Marie and me were hugely influenced by another show that is in Montreal, but it's not a guitar show. It's more like a Christmas design show.
All right.
Which is called the Sukat Set, and it's the 16th edition this year. And I did that for quite a few years before Sonore, and I really enjoyed it. It was like the emphasis was really on the visual of the show, which is really important to me, and we wanted to replicate that for Sonore, and the visual part with the Instagram and all the publicity is just that I'm a design nerd. So
yeah,
it's very clear.
It was my old job was well, not my old job, because I never really properly worked in that field, but I did study in graphic design, and it's always really 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 important for me to have like a really good presentation and
sure.
a nice poster, a nice logo, a nice name. Everything is super important to I think to get the show going, and to make it like kind of like a landmark, I should say.
And a cohesive experience where everything
cohesive.
works together.
Yeah.
And kind of it's a holistic, everything speaks of each other. So, you were saying one of the things that kind of really struck me when we were talking about Sonore was that, and as you alluded to earlier in the conversation, was, it is a show by luthiers for luthiers.
Yep.
What kind of, you're obviously a builder yourself. What insights Are you kind of what insights are you basing the show around? What kind of things have you experienced at other shows that haven't been organized by luthiers, and you've kind of thought, you know what, we need to change this up, and we need to make it more of an enjoyable experience for the makers?
I think one of the main thing for me about, and again I speak for me, not for the others. Maybe they won't agree with that, but I think to me, all the shows that I went to were, as I said, highly focused on selling guitars and not on actually make the visitor discover new things and new brands and new designs. And because our goal with Sonore as well is to promote lutherie to people who doesn't actually know it,
Yeah.
because there is a lot of guitar players, and there is a huge music scene in Montreal and in Canada in general, and a lot of Canadian players don't really play anything else besides Gibson and Fender.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Or Taylor or Martin and all the big box brand. And we kind of wanted to focus on being accessible to that clientele, and that means also for making the builders available to that clientele. So we want all the new builders, all the younger builders, and that's why we are keeping the fee for exhibiting really, really low. Well, at least way lower than any other show.
Yeah, by a long way, which is great.
Yeah, it's also very, very important because in a lot of times luthiers aren't super, wealthy people, I should say.
Yeah.
And paying like that's one thing that I really did not enjoy with Holy Grail Guitar Show, is that it is super, super, super expensive.
Mm-hmm.
For me, with the exchange rate, it was close to 1,500 100 1500.
Yeah.
Dollars. Yeah, 1,500. So yeah, it's super expensive, and I didn't pay my plane tickets. Luckily, I was staying with Nikolai, so I didn't have to pay rent in a B&B or something like that. But it was, it's a big. Luckily I sold one guitar, but mainly because of Nikolai and not because of the show. Because one of Nikolai's clients came to the show, and he bought a guitar from Nikolai a few weeks back, and he saw one of my guitars and he just loved it. But if that guy didn't came to the show, I wouldn't have sold any guitars. So
and that's the big the big kind of risk with shows is you're obviously there's from a builder's point of view, you're spending a lot of time and money building something for the show. You're taking the time out of the workshop to go and do the show. You might not necessarily, and they're tiring too. So I mean, I know you wanted to ask.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of feeds on to a question I had. Where do you think that shows rank in order of, well, maybe not in order of, but how important do you think they are nowadays when we've got things like social media and, well, yeah, that's the biggest one, right? Social media, when we can get yourself out there so easily.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think shows rank, and how would you kind of how have you tailored Sonore to cater for you get what I'm asking, right? Like how important is it nowadays? Totally. And
I think it's mostly important for your pairs recognition.
Yeah.
Right.
Pairs. Yeah. It's mostly important for that. I don't think it's important for being seen, because to me, if you're seen on the social media, that's what's important. You don't a show to me. It's more like a gathering of builders and meeting new builders. And yeah, you will make your stuff available for local local musicians. But I don't think it's as important now, because I don't know. I'm speaking about that from an electric builder standpoint and not acoustic, because for me, a lot of my clients don't try the guitars, and I kind of guess they don't really have to, because you can pretty much guess what they're gonna sound like. An acoustic guitar can be very, very different, because it's more
Mm-hmm.
about the feel, and it's more about, the resonance of the instrument. So for acoustic guitars, they could be still very important, I think. But we yeah, I I don't think that they're all that much quite important now.
I
In
think I would echo that, and I think that for me, doing shows, it's not necessarily my top priority as far as marketing goes. I still value them in terms of getting your guitars out there, and I value kind of word of mouth and having people actually experience the instruments firsthand. But for me, I really love going to shows to meet those other builders, to get
yeah,
inspired, to have those
yeah, yeah,
conversations. You know,
yeah,
often being a luthier is a very solitary thing. We spend all
yeah,
day in our workshop, and it's nice to actually get out and kind of chat to other builders who are going through a lot of the same things, talk about, not just how to build a great guitar, but also how to develop your business. And it's been great for me for being able to exchange, like, who you getting your wood from, like where can I get some
hmm
really good spruce, or like what truss rods do you use, like just exchanging knowledge,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
and just kind of being able to see where you're at in the marketplace as well, being able to see other people's work and kind of be like, oh man, that, I remember when I saw Michael Bashkin's fretwork at the Artisan show
yeah.
a few years ago. I was like, oh man, I saw that and I was like, I really need to improve my fretwork. And you're like, okay, if I hadn't have seen that and if I hadn't have felt that, then I might not necessarily have realized the things that I needed to work on to become a better luthier. So I think
Yeah,
shows are really, really important for that.
yeah, and it's that yeah, that's one point I could emphasize too on it's meeting other builders, and yeah, sharing information and seeing other styles and finishes.
Hmm.
That's or the local challenge and things like that is really
Mm.
important, because it's raising awareness on uh, different words or different techniques, and especially finishing for me is really important, like using eco-friendly finishes and things like that. I'm always speaking about that when I'm at shows, and it's I think, yeah, it's very important for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
So
yeah,
carry on, continue.
no, go ahead, go ahead. I was just I would, yeah. Sorry.
No, 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 no. So, obviously there are quite a few guitar shows happening in various parts of the world these days.
Hmm.
The Woodstock show in New York just celebrated its 10th anniversary last year. But conversely, a lot of shows kind of spring up and then disappear without a trace. What do you think a show needs to do to be successful and to have a kind of sustainable run?
Mm, one thing that a show needs for sure is media coverage, which is one thing where we're not that great for Sonore. We're still working on it, and we're a very young show, and we're very young builders with not a lot of connection, I should say, and it's sometimes very hard to attract, medias and things like that. That's why we try to grow our Instagram account, or being shared by other accounts is really important, because that's
Mhm.
where we're gonna get coverage. I don't think magazines and blogs are really will be interested in before a few years, because we're not big enough, and we're not making the emphasis on being big and being, so yeah, that's one thing we're gonna try to, grow over the years, but I think it's really important. But the other thing is, to me, and that's what we're doing so now, is the presentation. I mean, if you
Mhm.
have a bad presentation or a bad venue, the venue is very, very, very important, because that's what makes the uh, 90% of the visual of the show. And you will see that the Sonore venue now is like, we love it. It's very, very
I can't
pretty, and
wait. I can't
that's
wait to
all.
see.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be great. We do have two rooms though. We can't limit the show to the room one, so we have a second room. And we're trying this year a new thing where we're gonna have an entrance in the first room and an exit in the second room. So it's
Oh, good.
more gonna be like, yeah. So everybody is gonna get seen, and to prove our point, Theo, Joel, and myself are going to the second room. So we're not, last year we were in the first room, and a few people were like, you put us
Sure.
in the
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
room, and
Yeah.
it's just, so we're trying to, because the first room, is really prettier than the second room, but I don't think it should be taken, it should, one should be better than the other. So
And also, I think, like, if you're into guitars and you're into design and you're gonna make the effort to go to a show, like, you're gonna
mm,
make sure that you go in and see everything that there is to see, right? Like, so I think, whether you're in one room or the other doesn't really make that much difference.
yeah, last year it made a difference, because with a lot of people didn't really what we had a bit of work to do on the
Okay. Okay.
just on the signs and things,
Hmm.
because a lot of people didn't see that there were a second room. So this year it's gonna be easier with the exit. So it's gonna, and the coffee is gonna be, so everybody's gonna go to get coffee, and
Nice. Nice. Nice.
and
And
the beers on the Friday night should be in the second room too. So
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
so actually, the second room will be
But
the honey pot.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe
Um,
we're trying to get that room better and more interesting for everybody.
Nice.
how many exhibitors are you expecting?
We have 66 exhibitors this year,
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
and
That's a
I
really nice
think,
size, I think.
yeah, it's not too big, it's not too small. Last year we had 50 50 or 52, can't remember,
Okay.
because it was the first time in that venue, and we didn't know with the new tables how much space we had to put in between tables. So this year we knew we could put more exhibitors,
Mhm.
so we're gonna try 66. Maybe next year we're gonna maybe figure out a way to put maybe a few more, but I think we're close to full capacity, and we don't want to grow the number of luthiers past that, because we want to still, we don't pay ourselves for Sonore. We totally do that like for free, the
Sure.
organization and things.
Mhm.
So we want to keep things manageable and easy to do for us all year long. It's close to a 10, 12. Yeah, it's all around a year of working on it
Yeah. Of
to
course. Yeah.
put the show on.
Yeah.
And so we want each year to be, for that task to be easier and easier and easier, because it
Hmm.
will be, so we don't want more builders. But yeah, as you said, Daisy, it's a good number. It's not like 120 like the Holy Grail, and I
Mhm.
felt like I missed a bunch of builders,
Oh
because
yeah. Same.
And it
there was
maintains
way too
the
many.
exclusivity of being a part of something important, and
Yeah, that too. Yeah,
And the
yeah,
quality as
and
well.
the quality. There you go.
Who
yeah,
you
and
excited? Who you excited to see?
Top
Well,
stance.
first you guys. That's gonna
Obviously.
be great.
Duh.
Yeah.
So excited. So excited.
I'm really excited to. Well, a lot of them are people that I already seen in other shows, but I'm really excited to see them again. Nick Prisma, the Frank Brothers, Cower
cool.
Guitars. All my pedal nerds friends that I really enjoyed spending time with, like Empress Effects, Fairfield, Montreal Assembly, and all the Montreal guys I see pretty often. But yeah, all those people, it's great to have 3 days in a year where you see everybody and you hang out. But this year especially is going to be great. Like the roster is pretty nice. I
Yeah,
think
man, I'm so excited.
we managed to get quite a few interesting people in one room.
Yeah.
So cool.
Well, I think we've got one more question for you, and
Sure.
and then we'll let you go and enjoy a restful Sunday.
Do I have a question? Okay, I've got a question.
Go ahead.
So say that Sonore this year is a fabulous success, which
I'm
obviously
sure
it will be.
Yeah.
Exactly. Where would you see Sonore going in the future? Could you see it perhaps going global, like having another festival somewhere like Europe for those who can't travel to Canada, or do you think it will always be a Canada thing because you've got so many amazing luthiers over there?
I think we're gonna try to keep it in Montreal because I always felt like Montreal was a good place to organize a show because it's more central than, say, Vancouver or California. It's still a long way to travel for European people, but there is, apart from Iceland, they wouldn't be really more central place.
I mean, I like holidays, so
yeah, sure.
you can tie them in, right?
Paying for the plane ticket, so that's not maybe not something that you can do each year, but but then again, the price of the fee for exhibiting at Sonore is so low that I think Nikolai last year told me that even he was living in Berlin, and doing the Holy Grail cost him more money than doing Sonore.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
That's how crazy it is,
It can spiral, man. It can get really expensive. I remember.
Yeah, whiskey. If you have whiskey, that's what it was.
Yeah, if you raid the hotel bar after the show, then things do get expensive quickly. But I remember after a couple of shows that I've done, I just didn't look at my credit card statement for quite some time. I was just like, you know what? I'll just pretend I didn't.
That was the problem I had with the other Montreal show, the Sukatsa, the Christmas design show. It's like it's going on for almost a week, like maybe 5 days, I think.
Wow.
And it's from 12 to 9 most of the days.
Oh man.
And there is a bar.
Oh God.
And usually we were right next to the bar. So at the end of the week, we had we kept all of our beer, glasses, plastic glasses, and we made a tower, and it was ridiculous. Like I could make a few, maybe $300 during the week with guitar stands and things, but it was going all into beer.
Fair.
So it can get pretty expensive. Yeah.
Well, listen, man, we're both super excited to come out and I've just finished doing the setup work on the guitar that I'm going to be bringing out. Nice. So I'm excited about that. I think I'm going to bring two.
You bring?
Two.
Two? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's a good number.
Yeah, so no last minute scramble, no all-nighters to get the guitars finished.
Surprising.
Which is yeah,
You
yeah.
were
I
anticipating
was
it.
anticipating a last minute dash, but everything fell into place. So, but anyway, yeah, no,
That's nice when it goes like that.
we're excited. How about you? Are you on course to get everything ready?
Yeah, I went and I went on and shit. How do you say that? I was pretty smart this year because I said, okay, you're gonna build the guitars for Sonore really early, and you're not gonna have any problems. So I built two baritones, and I'm bringing a third normal guitar, I think, and I don't know which yet, but I'm gonna choose. I'm gonna pick, I think, right before the show, and we'll see.
Well, I'm gonna.
No. I know what you're gonna say.
Just yeah, I'm gonna have to be somebody's gonna have to confiscate
Rein you
my
in.
wallet
Yeah.
because the baritone I had at the Holy Grail show, I was like this close to buying that guitar. Yeah.
I just built the same one as the
yeah,
Oh,
I know,
God.
I know. So, yeah, I know you have.
Yeah, but the two other baritone that I have are my personal guitars to play in my band.
Okay.
So you can't have them. So don't worry.
Okay, good.
You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay.
Don't put it past you to find a way, but okay.
But yeah, no, it's gonna be great to have you guys at the show and after the show.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna
So
show you a bit of
excited.
we're gonna show you a bit of Montreal, and yeah, it's gonna and the weather should be great when you're there because that usually we do get a lot of sun early September, so it's gonna be be great.
Fabulous. That's what we want.
Awesome.
That's why we put the show this year a bit earlier than last year, also to avoid the marathon.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, because last year was a nightmare for that. But the weather also is much prettier earlier in September, so it's gonna be great.
Nice.
Perfect. Sounds great. Bring our shorts.
Yeah. Cool, man. All right. Well, it was great chatting to you, and we'll look forward to seeing you in a few days.
On the 12th or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
See you
in a week and a few days. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy! I'm so excited. Okay. So looking forward to it.
All right, man. Have
too.
have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Interval. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, share the podcast, let us know that you are listening. We'd love to hear any of your feedback, comments, and also don't forget, you can watch this podcast if you haven't just watched it on YouTube. You can find snippets on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, and we are now on TikTok. Till next time.